I don't think so. All right, so let's get into it. I was amused. I've been amused, actually, for quite a while. Let's talk about the attempted rebranding of the PF. I'm not going to sit here and walk you through the entire gamut of the evolution of the PF. Everybody knows that this team that calls itself the Tonse Pamodzi Alliance are simply a rebranding of the PF. The Word of God says, can a leopard change its spots? Can an Ethiopian change his melanin? The answer is no. At the core, the regrouping, the rebranding, the attempted rebranding of the PF is just that. It's just the rebranding of the same thing. And it would be folly and foolish of us as a people to attempt to reinvent the wheel. When you look at someone and you know their character, you know everything they stand for, you know their abilities, you know their motives, and then you sit there and think, well, I wonder if they'll be different. Maya Angelou famously said, when people show you who they are, believe them. Ooh, that's deep. That's Mariana Trench deep. That's so deep. Ain't no light down there, boy. Let me say it again. When people show you who they are, believe them. They're no different from that old bunch. They've got the same character. They've got the same spirit. They've got the same green-eyed monster of vengeance and retribution and anger and jealousy. They've got the same thing going on. There's nothing different about the rebranding. The only difference is it's in a different package. But everything else is the same. And I get amused when I hear Brian Mundubile stand in front of supporters, PF supporters, PF Tonse Pamodzi supporters, and they say things like, no, I'm going to create a desk for Jeraboz at State House. No, I'm going to increase your meal allowances. No, we are going to review the cyber laws. Now, guys, understand, when a politician uses the word review, honey, take that with a pinch of salt. Everything and anything Brian Mundubile says is based on Pingila politics. Ooh, let's talk about it, boy. Let's lay it on the line. And listen, I'm not going to mince any words about this. This is the absolute truth. Everything and anything Brian Mundubile says is based on Pingila politics. Pingila politics means axe to grind politics. Pingila politics means when we come into power, you shall see. When we take the reins of power, you shall see. That is Pingila politics. Now, Pingila politics does not benefit the Zambian people. It simply creates a platform for politicians to get even with their political opponents. Ooh, that's deep. We don't need such people in office. Anybody that runs for office with the express purpose of getting back or getting even or displaying some type of vengeful, retributional attitude towards their political opponent, any politician that goes into politics for that is not serving the Zambian people. They're serving themselves. When Hakainde Hichilema ran for president, how many times did they say to him he will never be president? How many times did they try and label him as a tribalist? How many times did they try and call him a Satanist? How many times did they try to disenfranchise him and marginalize him because of his tribe? The whole time he served, he never ever implied that his goal was to be vengeful. His message was always serve the Zambian people. And that's one of the things that attracted me to Hakainde Hichilema's leadership, is his constant use of the word serve. You will never hear PF people talking about serving. You will never hear PF surrogates talking about serving. You will never hear Tonse Alliance. You will never hear Pomodzi Alliance talking about serving the Zambian people. They always use the term rule. Tukamite kangen koko. We're going to rule you. Nonsense. Anybody that comes into this political sphere must have a spirit of service, a spirit of wanting to serve the Zambian people. Do away with the word rule. This country is not a totalitarian state. Zambia is not a monarchy. It doesn't have kings. It doesn't have emperors. It doesn't have sultans. It has public servants. Public servants that have a tenure. A tenure. You do your bit. When you're done, you move over. Somebody else takes over. But if you're going to entertain politicians that only have on their plate, the only agenda they have is to fix HH when they come into power, or in their minds when they come into power. Because I will tell you, the Zambian people moved on a long time ago. I don't care who supports the PF. I don't care who supports Tonse. I don't care who supports Pomodzi. The bottom line and the truth is this. The Zambian people moved on from that type of hooliganism politics after PF was removed from power in 2021. We are never going back to that type of chaos. We're never ever going back to that type of rancor and malice. You can paint it any way you want. Left, right, center, yin, yang, any which way but loose. When the dust settles and when the dew dries, at the core, in the recesses of our heart, in the base of our cerebellum, the Zambian people have resolved never going back to that chaos, never going back to that rancor, never going back to that catastrophe, never going back to that type of malice. Never. You can comfort yourselves, the Pomodzi and Tonse Alliance members can comfort themselves and say to themselves, no, we are coming back. You can say that because it's your right to say it. But when the dust settles and when the dew dries, every voter knows in the recesses of our hearts, we're never going back to that craziness. We're never going back to that nonsense. We're never going back to that type of calamity. Not now, not tomorrow, not in 2023, not in 2031, not ever. Because the Zambian people moved on. And we have moved on royally. Royally. You know what that means? Royally. We have majestically moved on. What Brian Mundubile and his cohorts need to understand is that power, service to the Zambian people is not the preserve of them. That group of hooliganism, that group of vagabonds, they think that power and service to the Zambian people belongs to them and them alone. This is the reason the PF and its surrogates were offended. To this day, they are offended that HH is the president of this country right now. They hate that. They cannot stomach it. When they're sleeping at night, they jump out of bed in a cold sweat and they look at themselves in the mirror and they say, how did we allow this to happen? Why did HH become the president of this nation? And they claw themselves and they tear their hair out of their heads with gnashing and groaning of teeth. Well, the Zambian people decided that. The electorate decided, no, we're not going to go down this road ever again. The Zambian electorate woke up and said, this type of brutality is not going to be our homestead. This type of rancor and malice is not going to be our way of life. We choose to chart a different course for this nation. Brian Mundubile Makebi Zulu, their whole campaign is based on Pingila politics. Who does that benefit? Does it benefit the Zambian people? No. Does it speak about development? No. Does it elevate the Zambian people's lives? No. It only serves to quench the thirst and appetite of revenge and rancor and malice that resides in the hearts of those guys, Brian Mundubile and his homeboys. That's all it is. That is all it is. When they're sitting at home late at night in the dark all by themselves, the only thing that they have running through their minds is, if I can just get power, if I can get power, I will destroy HH. If I can get power, I will kill HH. That's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about you. They're not. And the truth is, we see right through you. And we'll always preach that because it's the truth. It sure enough is. I've got to go. I got stuff to do, places to go, and people to see. Love y'all. Vote wisely. Bye.